can hear the guns shooting, between the soldiers and the terrorists there, that you have no clue how far away it is from you. I became a believer when I was 30 years old. So 30 years of my life I wasted. I'm not sure that I have the right to waste more.
As the tragic aftermath of October 7th unfolded, many of our team received the call to join the front lines, and the rest of our staff immediately jumped into action to support our troops headed to war and those evacuating the war zone. This historical call-up and mass evacuations from the north and south created a logistical nightmare in our nation. Our team quickly pivoted to meet the needs of our country. From day one, our publisher, Eitan, was on the road delivering aid, driving amongst the clashes between Israeli security forces and the infiltrating terrorists to provide the much-needed help.
Saturday morning, October 7, we woke up like everybody. I was awake, but we woke up to a big attack on Israel. As Israelis, when you hear the alarm goes off, you go to the shelter for short 10 minutes, and we come up and we turn on the television. And I realized that the attack is not only in the south, it's almost all over.
As the day unfolded and the horror kind of unfolded, and we've been waiting to hear about, okay, where's the Air Force, where's the troops? And there were actually troops starting to mobilize. Some of our employees, some of our team members, some of our students, our own children and family members started getting called up to the military. So all of this is happening, in the morning. By the end of the day, just again, horrified and shocked, but tried to collect my thoughts and say, okay, what can we do? About a third of our staff is drafted, and we started getting phone calls from them, from our family members, from just friends saying, hey, we're in the middle of nowhere. We don't have sleeping bags, we don't have mattresses. So we started sending staff to outdoor stores to buy those kind of things. I think we bought their entire stock the first few days.
In the last almost 30 years, I'm working with Christian publishing. When we moved to One for Israel 2.5 years ago, we thought that it would be good for us to have publishing department in the only Christian college in Israel. I work a lot with young people, and young people come and say, how do I know where to serve the Lord? What should I do? My answer is always, wherever you see the need, that's where God called you to serve. In the Bible, most people serve the Lord with much sorrow, right? I don't know of anyone that when God called him to do a job, he said, oh God, good, I'm glad that you called me, I was waiting for you, right? Jeremiah said, not me. Gideon said, not me. They all said, no, I cannot do it. Serving is mainly to do what is needed now. The college opens kind of a headquarters that they start to be in touch with different army units and civilians and check what the needs. And whenever we needed to buy stuff, to take stuff to the different army units or people, this would be my job. And I go to the suppliers, take the stuff, put it on the car, then take it to the different units or different people all over, some in the north, mostly in the south. Sometimes people from the college, they saw on Facebook, there is a group of soldiers that are somewhere and they have no food today. So we drove quickly, got some sandwiches for them, shawarma or something, and drove down and gave them. And after a few days, we realized that the event is bigger than doing it in this kind of way. And we worked on kind of a plan. of how to make it. And we realized that we need someone that has the abilities to manage all this. Naturally, Orit, my wife, she's probably the best manager that I know.
We have 2 more girls because we need many people working, everyone has his job. So say hi. Hi, Adas. Hello. Hi, Tanya. Hi. On Saturday, October 7th, which we call, the terrible Saturday, we were all shocked. I think for me, it took me like 2 days. And then Monday evening, I was like, I need to do something. And since my older boys, they were in the army when we already had wars. So I knew whom to contact. I contacted right away the right people and said, I want to come and help. I want to be there with you. We are not just a pipe of giving things and that's it, go away. We call them, we ask how they are. Since I'm in one of the churches here in Israel, so I asked the kids in the church to send them cards with some drawings that they do for them. And so we send it. And other girls that we ask for cookies. And so just to say, it's not only about the gloves or the shoes. We love you and we are here for you, we care for you.
Mainly the first 2 weeks were really, really hard emotionally, just because every day it felt like we understood the massive trauma and hurt and all the deaths and friends, soldiers that were injured, and to hear names, see faces, understand how many people were really affected. Really hard, especially to see all of our friends going to reserves and not knowing where they're going, what's going to happen. We heard from the soldiers that contacted us because of our past connections with them. We understood that there's a lot of need, a lot of things that aren't supplied by the military, mainly because there's so many reserves in this war that were called in, so the army can't really get all the stuff needed.
So I was deployed for 42 days in Gaza. It's a different experience from last time. I was also deployed during Eitan in 2014. It was different because you already have some experience, so you're not that shocked by the environment, but you're still very dependent on God. When you're tired, when it's not comfortable to sit, 38 hours in a small tank with a bunch of big people, and there he's giving you more patience, more love to your comrades. And the big prayer was that my wife prayed that I will come back home. And after 2.5 weeks inside Gaza, my commander told me, "You're free to go home." And that was amazing. It was very, very big surprise for me. Usually it's not happening. My friends still working there, and I'm trying to help them from here. It's very interesting. You have all these donations, people sending donations and sending money for equipment, and suddenly the army receiving it, and it's amazing. It's like you're going without nothing, basically with your uniform, and that's all. And suddenly you have everything, the highest quality. So it's like, I don't know, unpackaging in the Christmas time. You're very happy.
We were, in a sense, a commando unit. We get a request, right away we send the people to try and find the needed quantities, and we just send it over. Now, important for me to say, our friends in the United States, but all over the world, I think once they started praying, the Lord really moved their hearts, and they started donating large amounts of money to help us buy this emergency equipment. So just been amazing to see how the body of Messiah around the world just truly rallies around Israel. So it was very, very heartwarming. And I don't think I exaggerate when I say that I think most Israelis now know and realize that the evangelical believers, the Bible believers, Christians around the world are the only friends of Israel.
So the atmosphere was really tough. It was hard because we did not experience it a war inside Israel since 1967. I was 7 years old then. No, we didn't have something like this. I drove to Nazareth to an Arab church, Arab believers, good brothers, that they made immediately some boxes with supply for families in the south. I drove up to Nazareth, took as much as I could put in my car and drove down to Sderot. No, it's completely war zone. So you go down and you drive your car and there is nobody around. It was me and police cars and army vehicles, that's all. I could hear a lot of clashes between the Israeli soldiers and the terrorists that were still around. So you could hear the gun shooting all over. And with this kind of shooting, you don't really know if it's close to you or not. When I drove into Sderot, the people were still there. Nobody was evacuated yet. It was too early. And I looked and I could see here and there some people looking between the shutters, looking out. And I really felt very bad. I said, how come Israeli civilians in their home, they are so afraid that they cannot even open the window? I went into army center, it was not even a base, to give them some stuff. And the eyes of the people were shut, were dark. There was no hope. People really didn't understand what happened to us. It was almost evening, it was started to drive home. Imagine how much I didn't understand what's going on. I said, okay, I need to drive north from where I am to Ashkelon and then to go home. So I started to drive north, as I used to do. And the road goes through Be'eri and Kfar Aza and all the villages that were completely destroyed, but I didn't realize how bad it is. It was 2 days after the war started. And I came to Re'im, not to where the party was, but near the kibbutz. And there was another checkpoint. The guy there told me, where do you go? And I said, I need to go to Ashkelon and then toward Ashdod. And he said, no, you cannot go from here. This is an army zone now. You cannot go in. But I'm an Israeli, so this was not a good answer for me. So I turned the car and I saw that there is a gravel road goes into Kibbutz Re'im from the other side, and I thought, okay, I will go from here and I will come out from the north side of the kibbutz and I will keep going. It was terrible. I just came in, it was terrible. And I stopped the car and the first building that I saw was burnt down. It looked to me like a kindergarten. That's what I thought that I see. And on the road there were many cars, burnt cars inside. And I could see some people laying down here and there. And I think that they were all terrorists, not our people, but I don't know. It was so shocking, and I thought, I don't think that we will ever be able to rebuild it. And while going on the road, from time to time came to my head a thought, and I stopped the car. I just wrote some thoughts. So I wrote it with no intention for anything. I just wrote it down. The next week I was there. The amount of shooting was not as much, still there. I was stopping in a gas station. It was the first time that it was open after 10 days from the beginning of the war. In front of me was a guy who was standing there on his shirt. It says Re'im, the name of the kibbutz. I had really bad feelings about what happened in Re'im. So I told him, I'm sorry, are you from Re'im? He said, oh yeah. And I said, what are you doing here? And he said, oh, I stayed because I'm a farmer, so I need to water everything that we have. We are few people, so in the morning we go to the fields and we walk, and then we go to the house of the people and we water their flowers in their homes. And they said, why? And he said, what do you mean why? When they come back, they have their place. They have their place ready. So they have the flower, they have the trees outside. We water everything. And it was the first time that I could see the hope. And so, of course, I stopped the car later. I write down some more lines, and I was praying, and mainly asking the Lord for forgiveness for my lack of faith. How can somebody that do not know Jesus at all have so much hope, and I lost it? How can it be? 2 days later, in the evening, I just sit and I have a kind of music in my head. So I went to my piano and just played it and recorded it. Music was always very important for me. I never learned music, so I'm not a professional, I'm nothing. But I really loved music from very early age. Running around in these places and seeing the soldiers and civilians and the disaster that we experienced, and then coming here was so good for me. We thought that we need to do something to encourage the people. And we came out with 2 songs. One came from my heart, just dealing with the hardship of the war and the hope. The second, I took the text from Psalms 91. The main line says, God in whom I can trust.
יושב בסתר עליון, בצל שדי התלונן, אלוהי אבטח בו.
And when October 7 came, the big problem for us, for the Israelis, that we lost a lot of trust. We always trust our intelligence, right? It's the best in the world. And regardless of our position, our political position, well, the Israeli government failed to give us security and then to deal with the war when it started. You stay and say, okay, I have nobody that I can trust. But Psalms 91 says that I put my trust in God because He is great, He can do everything, He knows everything, He has a plan. Nothing is happening outside of His plan. And He's totally sovereign. And for this time, even working on this song, being in the studio and working with the musicians, and gave so much comfort to our hearts because we could hear the words again and again. God, oh my God, I trust in you. God, I trust in you. And He never failed. It's important to know who you are. Okay, so I'm not the kind of guy that say about himself that I'm nothing. No, I know to write text and I know to run. No, I'm a good manager. I think I can do a lot of stuff. But success is up to God. It's not up to me. I want to work. I want to get up in the morning early. I wake up early, and to put as much time as I can to serve the Lord. And now that the army doesn't need so much help, so we work with the civilians, the people that were evacuated from their homes. Many of them, not all of them, but many of them lost everything, just everything. Those that were in the army going back home after 3-4 months in the army. So first, from time to time, they need help. And sometimes it's a physical help because their businesses were closed, or their wives could not go to work because they had children at home. One for Israel was really involved in getting stuff for children in Sderot and for wounded soldiers in Soroka and other places. So the point is that what Israel is going through is so big that none of us really understand. But as we walk through the places, we find out more needs and more needs that sometimes we can meet. And in a very personal way, I think that I'm so thankful that the management of the college, the management of One for Israel, were willing to set me off the work that I'm doing, because I think that if I could not be part of this big event that's happening to Israel, I would get crazy. So it was really, really the right thing for me to get into the car and meet soldiers and meet civilians and give just a little bit of help. And it's not me, I'm only the driver. With all the story, I'm only the driver. Those people that sat in the headquarters and got the phone calls and talked to the people and kept the contact. It's unbelievable. They were the heart of the work. I am only the hands. I'm only going there and give the people and meet them. And sometimes we have the privilege to tell them that we love them and that God loves them and there is hope. Israel will remain here. It will be okay. So we get up in the morning, okay, God, what do you want me to do today? So if it's publishing, fine, I love doing it. If it's driving, fine, I love doing this as well. And if it's not fun, that's okay. No, we are servant.
Here at this bus stop shelter was one of the many sites of the massacre that took place on that fateful day. You can see the bullet marks, and behind me also the grenade marks inside that are a testament to the violence that took place on that day. Sadly, this conflict is far from over, and the current needs and task of rebuilding these communities has hardly begun. But thanks to the many of you around the world who have partnered with One for Israel, our soldiers and the refugees here are feeling the love of God from the nations. So I want to thank you. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your partnership. And I want to invite you to join us in this work to shine God's love in these difficult days.
כיצד זה הפכה שבת של שלווה ליום מלחמה? כיצד יום שמחה הפך באחת ליום של אימה? אוי לעינינו שכך הן ראו, אוי על רבים יקרים שעבדו, היכן נקבל כוח ועוז לשביל של תקווה? התשובי עירי לשגשג ולפרוח, הישובו בנייך לחיות בקרבך, התשובי לראות בתנופה ופיתוח, הישובו בנינו לחסות בצילך. אורי ארצי חי אלוהיך קדוש ישראל, קומי חזקי שאי את עינייך אלי הגואל, על הייאוש תגבר התקווה, על הרס וצער תגבר התקומה, עוז לעמו ייתן אלוהים עמנואל. עוד תשובי עירי לשגשג ולפרוח, עוד ישובו בנייך לחיות בקרבך, עוד תשובי לראות בתנופה ופיתוח, עוד ישובו בנינו לחסות בצילך. על הרס וצער תגבר התקומה, עוז לעמו ייתן אלוהים עמנואל. על הייאוש תגבר התקווה, על הרס וצער תגבר התקומה, עוז לעמו ייתן אלוהים עמנואל.